Hi everyone, and welcome to my kitchen. And we're going to continue with a series of things that you should or could make, possibly, if you are preparing a festive dinner. So tonight, it's rather dark, yes, and rather late, and this is what I'm doing late at night. I am making the stuffing for my turkey dinner, and so I've got everything else ready, and I just have to finish the stuffing. So the first thing that I would suggest that you should do is you are going to need 20 cups of cubed bread. The best way is make sure it's day-old bread. I also don't mind to pull it straight out of the freezer, and if it's frozen and cube it from there, it just is a lot firmer. If you're using Fifendekel bread, that's about 2 loaves of Fifendekel bread, and you just roughly cube it and have 20 cups of that ready. So that's the first thing that you're going to make. Use a serrated knife for that one. Then start by melting either margarine, or in my case, I've used 1.5 cups of butter. And what you're going to do is we are going to slice some onions, 2 cups of onions, and 2 cups of celery. So I've already put that in there. And for that, not a serrated knife, right? Just there we go. So it's been in here, it's been cooking, and I just want I want the onions to get translucent, which they have done so. While you're doing that, you can prepare you're going to do a double foiled wrap. I put it in a container, but you can just put it right in the foil and put it into your oven. Set your oven at 350 degrees so that it is warming. And I think we're ready to put this into our bread cubes. So let me just move this off to the side and gather our bread cubes. It's going to be warm, so be careful. Shut everything off and just pour that over your cubes. I find these old Tupperware fix and mix bowls. Great, perfect size, right? And then as soon as it cools down, I'm going to get my hands in there. But you are just going to make sure that this is going to go throughout your breadcrumbs. And to your breadcrumbs, you are going to add 3 teaspoons of sage, 3 teaspoons of poultry seasoning, 1 teaspoon of pepper, and the recipe does call for 3 teaspoons of salt. But I, instead of using the dry chicken mix, am going to use the concentrated bouillon. So I'm going to hold off on my salt because this is already salty until I am ready as sort of a last step. So I'm just going to incorporate that throughout. Very simple. Hard part is waiting for it to come out of the oven. So I've just been mixing it through there. And to that, you are going to add 1.5 cups of water. Now you may have to add a little more or a little less, depending on how that's going to turn out. But now I should be able to get my hands down and dirty. And typically you would use 3 teaspoons of the dry chicken mix, dry chicken soup mix, but I am going to use the bouillon, and I'm gonna put about 1.5 teaspoons of that in there. So mix it together. Still too warm for these little fingers. Well, they're not so little. Anyway, this is dressing my mom made. When we were young, she used to stuff it into the turkey cavity. And I suppose if you're feeling brave enough, you can do that. But there's so many things about that. So it's best just, I feel, to put it into the foil and put it onto the side. I mean, I guess you're losing a little of the flavor, but you do have a lot of seasoning in here. And it should cover. So Let me just give it a little taste for the salt. Now, with the bouillon, I'm not going to add more salt. It's salty enough. And that's all there is to it. And you put it into your container. And you are going to put it into your oven for an hour and a half at 350 degrees. So let me just go over that again. First of all, you have 1.5 cups of butter or margarine that you have melted, 2 cups of celery diced, 2 cups of onion diced, and you fry that until the onions are translucent. In the meantime, in between time, you're going to cube 20 cups of bread and use all kinds. If you've got some multigrain and you've got some brown and some white, just makes it that much better. To that mixture, you're adding 3 teaspoons of sage, 3 teaspoons of poultry seasoning, 1 teaspoon of pepper. And if you are using the dry chicken mix, you will add 3 teaspoons of that. If you're using the concentrated bouillon, I do about 1.5 teaspoons. Sometimes I want it a little stronger, a little too, but I leave out the salt and I don't check. I check for the salt at the end. So you put your celery and onion mixture into your breadcrumbs with your seasonings. You add 1.5 cups of water. You mix it all together, put it into a double foil package, and you are going to bake it for 1.5 hours at 350 degrees. And then you're ready for your meal. So remember to catch How to Do Your Turkey. Monique has done one of those, and we'll be continuing to do some YouTube channels. I had to bake my own pumpkin pie and my pecan pie. You can get a take and bake kit at Fifendekel. It's really easy. It's like a component pie. Throw it in your oven, and if you time it just right and take it out when your guests arrive, voila, it's perfect. So don't be afraid to be making turkey dinner many times a year. Don't wait for a festive occasion. But if it is, here's the stuffing for you, and good eating.